In 218 article, follow Nina as she rivals with Section 218 of the German Criminal Code and contemporary women roles in early 1980s Germany.
Our story is set in West Berlin, Germany in the year 1971, a time of cultural, political, and normative change and upheaval. This is a dynamic and engaging setting for a story about women's empowerment. In the beginning of the film, we meet our protagonist Nina in her initial condition. She is a confident-appearing young woman who arrives at her workplace for a small newspaper. At work, though, her character shifts. She is quiet and lets her all-male co-workers make comments and judgments. When she gets called into her boss's office to write just another story about fashion, she sees notes about Section 218 of the German Criminal Code on his desk. This is the moment she decides to speak up and becomes the inciting event. She asks to finally start writing about something she's passionate about, the abortion conflict that was very highly discussed at the time. After a lot of convincing, her boss agrees for her to write the story, but if he doesn't like it, he'll give it to her coworker, Mr. Herman, instead. She has one day. In the middle of the film, Nina starts working on the story and pulls an all-nighter at her office when Mr. Herman approaches her. Nina is not a fan of his because Mr. Herman has always been the first in line to make inappropriate comments about her, and it hasn't only happened once that he crossed physical and emotional lines. Nina, however, always managed to prevent the worst. Mr. Herman claims his interest in Nina's take on the topic, and Nina knows he won't leave until she gives him material, so she lets him read her draft. However, he doesn't seem to like it. He tells her that her article is way too one-sided on pro-choice and too passionate. If she wants this article to be published and acknowledged, she has to be more transparent and consider all sides. Nina hates that. She doesn't want to be told by a man like him how to write about women, so she explodes and they get into an escalating argument where at the moment of truth, Nina accidentally confesses that she's had an abortion herself, which makes the room go silent and Mr. Herman leaves. But as he leaves, she knows he's right, and she starts rewriting her story. The end of the film shows Nina handing in her story to her boss, who actually agrees to publish it. Nina's final state is a split mind. On the one hand, she is happy about finally having a political piece published. On the other hand, however, she recognizes how in this male-dominated world, a woman will never have the chance to fully express her opinion.
The genre of our short film is historical social problem drama, exploring women's equality, abortion, and women's roles in the workplace during 1970s Germany, when these subjects were seeing an enormous upheaval in the cultural sphere. Drama is the most appropriate genre to tell this story because it lends itself to a serious and emotionally realistic consideration of ordinary people. Whilst drama often features a protagonist who has no extraordinary skill common to genres such as action, science fiction, or fantasy, the drama character is interestingly complex and real. Nina is not Wonder Woman, but is a stubborn, flawed individual whose emotions, psychology, deep desires, hopes, and dreams are at the center of this story. We want the audience to relate to Nina and understand that her story was historically the story of so many at that time, and can still be seen today. Our film is then inherently a social problem drama because it integrates the broader societal issues around abortion, women's roles in the workplace, and women's roles in society into our story conflict, shaping Nina's narrative and character arc. This gives us the opportunity to explore complex and powerful themes that are not often reserved for women's stories. Our film posits that change and group empowerment come at the sacrifice of individual voice when the force of cultural history is against you. Nina's goal is to write this article about abortion because she wants to prove that women can contribute meaningfully in the workplace and have issues that are worth writing about, but she learns that her own individual experiences are not enough for the men around her to respect her contributions. She might have published her story and achieved a small change in the dynamic of her office, but it is at the sacrifice of her own values. Whilst this film is set half a century ago, the ideas we explore are unfortunately still contemporary issues. Women are still fighting for respect from men, and although this may have significantly improved since the setting of this film, recognizing the truth of this film in everyday life proves that we still have a long way to go.